Hello, this is week 4, and this week you're going to come up with a plan. So let's just take a look at this. This week you're going to actually devise the schedule for your inquiry. But before we do that, I just want to take a quick walk through chapter 3 of your textbook, which I think is just wonderful at explaining the plan. Everything just works better with a good plan. First of all, when you're looking at your plan, I'm in chapter 3 of Fickman. On page 28, they give you a great itemized list of data collection instruments, bearing in mind that one of your most important forms of data collection is student work that you can analyze. And I also have some data collection methods for you down here on the screen, just ideas, lots of ideas. When it comes to data collection, you are generally better off when you triangulate, which means you're going to have 3 different forms. You could have something like observation. You could have a lit review. That's a data collection method. And then pick something else from the list. So it's not difficult to get 3 different forms. But I highly recommend that you have more than one form of inquiry, even for something as short and quick and easy as an action research project, because you're just going to get much better data. Okay, so then they talk a lot on the next couple of pages about data collection. But they really, on page 30, go on and talk about what this inquiry brief is. And an inquiry brief is the same thing as a research plan. So we're talking about the same thing. It's really just an outline of what you're going to do. In this particular case, you're going to write a narrative, paragraph form for what you're going to do. It's a plan because we work better when we have a plan. But be sure to include in your own mind that this plan needs to change sometimes, because sometimes we get started with our research and something's just not working at all. And then we're teachers. We go on and try something else. So that's perfectly fine. If you find you're in the middle and something's just terrible and not working, just try something else. Okay. Then on page 30, they go on to talk about the litmus test. And the litmus test is really just applying the questions that they have in here to your plan before you get started with the actual work to make sure it's going to work. First of all, question 1, does your data collection strategy align with your wonderings, your question? Are you actually assessing what it is you're doing? Question 2, are you using multiple forms of data? Absolutely, got to use more than one. You've got to triangulate, come up with 3 different ways to look at what you're doing, and then come up with a decision after you've collected your data. You'll come up with a much richer set of data if you do that. Question 3, does one of the forms of data you will collect include literature? Be sure to include your literature review as a data collection. What are you finding when you're doing your literature review? What information have previous researchers already identified that can help you? Next. Trying to go through this and pick out the really important things. And be picky. They talk here about using the literature rather than letting the literature use you. I'm on page 34, and that's so interesting. Be really picky in the literature that you select for any research project. And one of the literature review sources that they cite in here is Google Scholar, which is an excellent place to get good articles that you can use. They're peer-reviewed. And now, that being said, some of them require you to pay in order to read them, but the vast majority on there are free. So I would just stick with the free stuff. Then question 4 is the design of your study experimental. You don't want to get into an experimental study. You don't want to have a, control and then a study group that's not the control. That's way more than you want to get into for this. And then question 5, is the inquiry plan doable? I mean, it's got to be something you can accomplish in a classroom with children. It shouldn't be so difficult that you need a research lab to do it. And question 6, have you considered the possible detours? We have to be flexible. We're teachers. Some things just don't work. Be flexible. Okay. And then they have various inquiry plans here at the end of the chapter for you to look at. I highly recommend looking at the one on page 45 and 46 because it's early childhood. This is a first grade teacher. And this is definitely one that would be doable and gives you a lot of good information. Okay, so that's enough about chapter 3. So once you've gotten, everything in your mind, what you want to do, how you want to do it, go ahead and put it down on paper, explain the problem you're having, which you're trying to solve, because obviously something is bothering you or you wouldn't have picked it. Then briefly describe your background research, maybe a page worth. Write your research question. Explain your method of inquiry, or hopefully more than one. Briefly describe your calendar. When are you going to do this? Does it start next week or 2 weeks? And when are you going to finish it up? You don't want to wait until the last part of because remember, there's a due date on this. And then you're going to write it all out in narrative form, 2 to 3 double-spaced pages. And then this is just some supplement in case you want to look at more action research and what's been done before. It's not required, just if you happen to be looking for a little supplement there. If you have any questions on how to do this, please let me know. I'll be happy to meet with you on Zoom. I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.